What's going on, guys? It's Aiden with Upper James Toyota, and today I've got a surprise for you. This is a 2005 Suzuki Carry DA63T, formerly known as the K-Truck. And we've got one here. We imported two of them from Japan, and I'm going to be taking a close, in-depth review to see exactly what this K-Truck has to offer. So stay tuned, and let's check out this mini truck. If you guys are in the market for a new or used vehicle, do not forget to click the link in the top of our description. Now let's talk some numbers on this K-Truck. Now, this vehicle is going to be powered by a 3-cylinder 660cc gas motor. Now, it's either offered in a 5-speed manual or a 3-speed automatic, which this one is here today. We actually have another one here right now, which is the dump truck version. So it has actually a power dump on the back bed. That is the 5-speed manual. Now, I've driven both. You definitely feel very small on the road. There's not a whole lot of pickup on one of these, but it is pretty cool that obviously, maybe in our market, there maybe isn't a huge need for them, but obviously say in the Japanese market, a lot more vehicles on the road. You want something a little bit more, small and, space efficient, to be driving on those congested roads. There obviously shows more of the need for one of these overseas. However, on our roads here, yeah, you definitely feel small. There's not a whole lot of pickup, and that's because this bad boy has a total of 49 horsepower. So you're really not going to be, drag racing this or feeling like you can really get up to speed like other vehicles on, our market and for sale here in North America. Now, one of these, driving it, you do feel very, very small. And if you're looking at the actual speedometer on one of these, this bad boy says it'll go a top speed of 120 kilometers an hour. I'm not going to test it because that is pretty fast for a vehicle that is this small. Not to mention, it doesn't have a whole lot of, I would say, safety features. So, the seats are really not that comfortable. We'll go on the inside to actually show you what that looks like. But obviously, judging off of the size and the size of the truck, say versus the size of me, you probably can guess I don't fit very well in one of these bad boys. So stay tuned. I'll get into this very, very shortly. But in the meantime, we're going to check out one of the cooler features on the vehicle, which is going to be this bed and just how practical this, useful style of the bed on this mini truck could be for you. Now, there's not a whole lot of features on one of these K-Trucks. However, one of the coolest things on it is going to be this 6.5-foot bed. So if you unclip these two little latches, one closer to the actual cab of the vehicle and then one towards the back end of the vehicle, this side platform will actually come all the way down. And it's pretty cool because it's super easy to load stuff in and out. So if you are, say, that smaller farmer or, a smaller business that you can throw, some stuff in the bed for one of these vehicles, this is actually very, very usable. And obviously, it doesn't really matter, the size of you, because getting into one of these, you don't need to be super tall because obviously it's just made to be very, very practical. Now, the couple cool things on this vehicle that are just, you typically don't see on a vehicle. Number one has to be this exposed battery. There's not a whole lot of covers on this vehicle, and there's obviously not a whole lot of space to be putting something like a battery, up front where the engine is, because obviously that's underneath the seats. And if you've seen the size of this vehicle, you understand that they need to be a little bit more practical on where they're putting things, and obviously will compromise on simply exposing the battery. Now, I find it pretty funny that obviously one of these vehicles comes standard with 2-wheel drive and then optional 4-wheel drive, which this truck has in front of me today. But the funniest things on one of these vehicles are going to be these little tiny 12-inch alloy wheels. They are going to be, I think, the smallest tire I have ever seen in real life. Pretty cool. There's actually a whole lot of tread on this vehicle. And for this being a 2005, it only has about 38,000 kilometers on it. So it really wasn't driven a whole lot. And it's pretty cool that we have one here today. Now, give me about 2 seconds. I'm going to jump onto the inside of one of these vehicles just to see exactly what this vehicle has to offer on the interior. All right, let's jump into the inside of a K-Truck. Uh-oh. Alex, we got to switch sides. This is our first time we ever shot a non-North American vehicle. So 2 seconds, we're going to switch sides. All right, now actually being on the right side of the vehicle, let's try and get into one of these, which takes a little bit of effort. Okay, now we're on the inside. Now, obviously being on the, interior of one of these bad boys, there's not a whole lot of space, but it's pretty funny because these sell a lot in the Japanese market, which is pretty cool. Now, obviously, this being a 2005, there's not a whole lot of features on the inside. You actually still have the manual roll down windows, which I find pretty funny, and it has to be one of the coolest and quirkiest little headrests you will ever see on the inside of a vehicle. These are probably less than an inch thick. There is barely any padding on this. So if you ever hit your head, it's not going to be, the most pleasant ride, put it that way. But it is pretty funny that you can fit 2 people on the inside of one of these and still transport a lot of stuff with a very practical 6.5-foot bed. So honestly, if you were that, farmer, even in, in our, market right now, or someone who needed a very small truck that didn't cost a whole lot, to throw some stuff in and move some stuff around, this actually could be a pretty good fit, for whatever lifestyle you have if you need that smaller truck. The cool thing about one of these is that obviously because it's a direct import from Japan, everything's in Japanese. So your radio's Japanese, all of your little stickers on the inside are all in Japanese as well. No, the radio does not work here because obviously we will not get those stations, but it is pretty funny how one of these bad boys, doesn't have a whole lot of features, but at least you've got AC, you've got a vehicle that is pretty cool to drive on the right-hand side of the road, which is very new to me. I've driven these both once, and it is pretty funny to, have someone next to you and feel that you're in this tiny little box, driving with, another person, which other one of our vehicles, like my personal vehicle or our smaller 2-doors, yes, they're more compact, but I would have never thought that I would say another vehicle that we have here makes my car feel very, very spacious, which this one actually does, which is pretty funny. Now, there's not really a whole lot else to go over on the inside of one of these. We have 2 of them, so if you want to drop by, sit in one, see one of these, they are here right now. We're not too sure how much longer they will be here, but definitely drop by and come check out one of these mini K-Trucks. All right, guys, to wrap up this video, I was doing a little bit of research to try and figure out exactly what the MSRP for one of these 2005s were back in the day. I couldn't find that number. If you guys know it, please comment it down below because I'm really interested to see exactly what these ranged for when they were brand new back in 2005. However, on today's current market, the 4-wheel drive option, depending on mileage, they're ranging anywhere from, $2,000 up to a mid $20,000. So if you're in the market to see one of them, you're in the market to buy one of these. We've got 2 of them here right now. And again, I'm not too sure how much longer they will be here, but I thought this was a pretty cool vehicle and a rare one to shoot. So I'm happy that we could do so today. If you guys did like this video, please do not forget to hit like and subscribe so you don't miss any more of our future Toyota related or Suzuki related content. And we'll check you guys out in the next video.